Hi, this is Carol Wisely with Radio Free Decipher on a very sunny Friday before the Memorial Day weekend. So we're all looking forward to 3 days off here in pleasant spring weather in Virginia, very unusual. I'm here with Kendrick Summers, Marketing Manager. Hi, Kendrick.
Good morning, Carol.
And we're going to talk about the recent announcements about Young Jedi. And I'm also going to try and bring you up to date with some news. I think you probably also saw the announcement yesterday that Endor has been delayed for a couple of weeks due to some production issues. We apologize for that. Sometimes does happen at the very last minute. We have very strict quality control, and there's no way we're going to print an expansion unless we're happy with the way that the cards are going to look. So when there's a production issue, then our only option is to delay. So we're hoping to get Endor out and on the streets by the end of June. And you should begin to see content going up on our website next week about Endor. So some of the speculation might begin to disappear. You all know that we've got 18 foil cards in Endor. Kendrick, can you tell us anything about that program?
Well, specifically about the foil cards, we have some different issues looking at the foil versions of our classic cards because they're a different layout than the YJ cards. So we certainly want to make sure that the quality is up to the standard, and once we have achieved the right mix, then we're sure those cards are going to be really beautiful. We just want to have the ones that you all out there are going to like, and we certainly don't want to put anything out until it reaches our standards, just like you said.
And there hopefully is a shiny teddy bear in there or two.
Yeah, I think there are some Beanie Baby cards that are going to go in there, and no, I'm just kidding. There's actually a couple of options that we have that are really, really good-looking cards. So there's some really exciting opportunities for great-looking foil cards in that set, and we want to make sure that they look as good as possible.
Now, Kendrick, you're obviously a very, very dedicated, long-time player of classic Star Wars CCG, and as far as I'm aware, you've never really stopped keeping up to date with the play environment.
Well, I'm certainly still involved. The rules questions that come into me, I tend to defer them to the person that they should be going to. That'd be Justin Pakes. And so as far as current rulings and up-to-date hot issues, I tend to pass those along to where they go, but I'm always up for a sealed deck game if anybody out there wants to challenge me. So Endor has got quite a bit of neat gameplay stuff, not so much new rules, but the booster draft environment that we plan to be posting here pretty soon, and just the cards that play within that environment should be really exciting. So I'm personally looking forward to Endor. It should be neat.
And that's going to be a booster draft that only uses Endor.
That's correct. And the neat thing about this environment is that every card that you have the opportunity to draft is going to be usable within that system itself. So, for example, you won't be drafting something like from maybe Cloud City, like a Carbonite Chamber, where you just wouldn't have the cards to make the combo. Every card that you're going to draft is usable in some way, shape, or form. So it makes it a really neat self-contained system.
So somebody like me who's really stopped playing around about A New Hope and only plays in OTSD now so that I'm limited to Premiere and A New Hope, I'd be able to go into an Endor booster draft and not have to worry about not knowing all the cards in between.
Absolutely. The rule sheet that we're going to produce with this card set has a relatively small rules edition section, so that really the only thing that you need to know about Endor is the site layout, and you're pretty much good to go. All the rules are just as they've always been, and we're going to battle on the Forest Moon itself.
Great. So there's a little hint in there with site layout. So we're going to sort of have Shades of Hoth going on again, are we?
Well, that's possible. I think the rules sheet itself will be posted within the next couple of weeks, I would think, and that'll give everyone an opportunity to kind of see how things are going to be laid out. And you can probably guess on your own that we'll have interior and exterior locations. There's just a certain way that they need to be set so that there's some balance on the planet itself, and it should work out just fine.
So we're going to be replaying that Battle of Endor from Return of the Jedi.
That's right, and the wonderful Ewoks are going to be a part of that. So those of you that like the sound squish will, I'm sure, enjoy it.
Cool. So I know that you're a personal devotee of booster draft. That's one of your favorite formats, I think.
I do enjoy that format, and to be honest with you, the appreciation for it came from playing the the other card game, Magic, and the system that they run with that game is great. Booster Draft is a lot of fun. You have to have skill in not only playing the game, but in drafting and setting up your deck. One of the great things about our Booster Draft system is that counter drafting is not really an option, and maybe we'll get into that in a few minutes. There is an opportunity to do that at least one time during the draft, but in general, counter drafting is not an option, so that you draft really offensively to build your deck. So we like that system, and especially in a Star Wars environment, which gives you a real scenario flavor. I'm just really happy about it.
So explain for the newbies like me. Tell me, what does counter draft mean?
Well, a counter draft would be, in the Star Wars environment, a counter draft would be drafting opposite to your allegiance. At the beginning of a booster draft tournament, everyone is assigned an allegiance, so that you have half light players and half dark players. So a counter draft would mean that if you're playing light, you actually choose a dark side card, which in general is not an option. So if you happen to be playing a booster draft with Premier, for example, you wouldn't be able to counter draft a Darth Vader away from one of the dark side players. You might get to see the Darth Vader and know that it's going to be in the environment, but you wouldn't actually be able to take it into your mix of cards. Now with Endor, relating to the foil cards that are going to be in there, we have a special rule where players will actually be able to counter draft one card, and what we're kind of alluding to there is the golden ticket. So there is the option to pull a card out of the pack that you're not going to be able to use, but that happens only once and only with the very first card in the pack. So you will have the option to counter draft once with each pack, but in general you really have to draft offensively, because that is taking away a slot that you could be using something else in for your deck. So there's also a bit of strategy to the counter draft itself, and it really depends on whether you're a collector and you want the foil cards or you're really into winning that particular tournament.
Cool. Well, I think we announced last week on Radio Free that the booster draft would be 7 packs, but I believe that was a mistake, and I think it's a 9-pack booster draft.
Well, the packs themselves are going to be the 9-card format, but I think, Carol, it's actually going to be a 6-pack booster draft.
Okay. Sorry, my apologies.
And that will give everybody a mix of enough cards to build down to a 40-card deck. Now, in the rules themselves, we do have a contingency for those players who won't be able to play 40-card decks, but it's really only a technicality. Everybody should be able to build a tournament-legal deck simply because every card is usable. You don't really have any throwaway cards. Now, depending on the strength of the deck that you want, you may find cards less favorable than others, but every card is going to be usable, so there shouldn't be any problem with building a 40-card deck using 6 booster packs.
Well, I guess Origins is going to be our next big show coming up in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, and I guess we'll be having an Endor booster draft there, so maybe I'll get to join in.
Absolutely. We're hoping that that's going to be a really big environment, too. It'll be a nice way to kind of kick off what Endor means to us, and hopefully the booster draft tournament scene will kind of explode throughout the rest of the summer. It's just going to be a lot of fun, and it's a new environment along the same vein as some of the other tournament promotions that we've done, like Bespin and Beyond, and some of the other quirky tournament environments that we've had. But Endor is itself really a pure system, and you don't have to worry about a lot of the old stuff. There's no special edition involved. There's no OTSD. So for those people that want a new, pure experience, Endor has got what you're looking for.
Great. Well, it's been a while coming. It's been a long gap since Special Edition, and luckily Special Edition has, being such a big set, has kept people very busy. From reading through the lists, I still see Special Edition developing out there.
Absolutely.
There are still new strategies that keep popping up, and
yeah, for the most part, I think the core gamers, and you all know who you are out there, are pretty centered on the dominant strategies for Special Edition. But the good thing is that with new people continuing to trickle into the game, Special Edition is still selling pretty hot in most of the stores. There's an article in one of the gaming magazines, or not so much an article, but a retailer survey that lists that they're selling Special Edition hotter than any other Star Wars classic product out there. So it's still moving off the shelves, and who knows, maybe we'll see a new dominant deck type as the regional qualifiers move on.
And how do you think, I mean, we've talked about Endor standalone and Endor booster draft. Now let's move outside the booster draft format for a while. How do you see Endor mixing into the full environment? Well,
there's certainly plenty of, what we'll call kind of big cards that are going to come out of Endor. I think it's just a matter of whether people are going to have the the wherewithal to move away from what's dominant right now and start experimenting with how Endor affects the environment. I think there are quite a few pretty decent power cards in Endor, and one of my favorite things is used interrupts that have a high destiny number that you can recycle into your life force. And I think we may see a few of those in Endor.
Oh, absolutely. Good. Well, Endor's a little further away than we'd hoped, but we'll be here pretty soon. And as I say, we should start releasing some information hopefully next week. Get those rules up, get the booster draft rules up so people can start preparing for that and begin to show a few cards hopefully by the end of next week. So we're excited about that.
Looking forward to it.
Before we move on to talk about our other Star Wars CCG, or rather our collectible card game, Young Jedi, which is out there and doing amazingly well at the moment, I just want to talk for the Star Trek fans. I want to say we still don't have a date for Blaze of Glory. We're at least hoping to get that in time for the big shows in the summer. We may be able to pre-release some Blaze of Glory stuff at Origins. It will not be on the streets by the beginning of July. But as soon as we get some news, we'll let you know. We've not released much information on Blaze of Glory yet, but I will be talking with the PD guys over the next couple of weeks, starting to tell you stuff about that.
Just so you all know out there, we are really pulling for the pre-release environment at Origins. We had a great experience last year with the Deep Space Nine pre-release, and I know that you all out there really enjoyed it because I was there watching you. It's something that we really want to see, and we're going to do what we can to have the environment ready for probably a Saturday pre-release tournament. I believe if you check our website for the Origins schedule, you should see a sealed deck tournament there, a special sealed deck tournament, and that's probably where it's going to be.
If we can, but that's not a promise.
We can.
That's not a promise because we're not at that position yet. Okay, well, sorry I don't have more for the Star Trek fans, but we'll get you that news when we can. Let's move on now. Talk about Young Jedi. It's continuing to grow in leaps and bounds out there. People are now playing Young Jedi tournaments. We don't have those sanctioned yet. We're still waiting for the software to be finished, but that should hopefully be within the next few weeks. In the meantime, unsanctioned tournaments are growing, and we've seen a couple of interesting formats develop as well, non-sanctioned. Did you hear about the one that happened locally this last weekend?
I'm pretty sure that was the constructed deck tournament at the local comic shop. Actually, I may not have as much information as you, Carol, so why don't you tell us?
Well, I don't really know the full story, but I did hear that they played a different format where everybody played 2 games.
Oh, an elimination type format, I think probably was what that was.
They played both allegiances against the same partner in the same round. I don't know if it was elimination or not, but I was listening in on the guys chatting about it. We had a number of people from here that stepped into that tournament, including our new Jedi Knight, Justin Pakes, who went and broke in his decks. So that was great. We also had a little informal tournament this week at my house one night. Tell us about that, Kendrick.
Well, actually, my coffee cup is empty, and I'm going to have to leave, so maybe we can talk about that another time.
The reason he's doing that, guys, is because I beat him and
crushed me
with a differential of 34, which is, even in Young Jedi, that's a pretty amazing differential.
I can see the polls on my reputation dropping as we speak.
Well, hopefully mine will grow because I've never been a contending competitive player of our 2 current CCGs, but Young Jedi collectible card game is made for me. I love playing it. And that's the first time I've sat down in a sealed deck and had to build a deck there and then.
It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And building a sealed deck in Young Jedi is great.
Yeah, it's much easier.
Oh, yeah. We had an 8-year-old in that tournament as well, and I was probably the oldest there, but never mind about that. But it was a real experience for me to get. I can't remember how many boosters we had, but
I think we used 3 in a starter deck for each player.
Right, and we built down to a 60-card deck because you have to have 60 cards in YJ to have the deck building rule met. And so your options are not enormous, but with a little bit of clever working. I was lucky enough to have a couple of Obies, so Obi featured quite heavily in my deck. What was your dark side deck?
It was
Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, I had a few Tusken Raiders in there. Unfortunately, they weren't accompanied by their Thunder Rifles, so they didn't play a huge part. I did have a Sebulba and his Pod Racer, but I never saw those either, so I had to go with with the battle droids and the destroyer droids that I had, and it was a good deck. Carol just really outmaneuvered me. I gave up the first planet, and that was a mistake, because then she continued to hammer me from there. But this game keeps everybody competitive, and it makes for a much better environment. You think you'll go into a game and have it in the bag, and before you know it, you have a bad turn, or you get smashed in a battle, and it's all she wrote. I had a great time. Even losing, I think for me as a long-time player, it makes it much more exciting. I have to be more on my toes. It's not as if I can go into a tournament and say, okay, I can beat that person, I can beat that person, and I can beat that person. It's just, with this game, it's not that way anymore. Every game is a challenge.
It was great. I managed to make it first time ever into a final confrontation where I was absolutely crushed by Joe already.
What was the prize? The winner had to clean up the pizza
That's
leftovers?
That's right, absolutely. So that was fun. Young Jedi is great fun, and the Barnes & Noble bookstore tour is wrapping up over the next couple of weeks. That has been an enormous success, and we have some other promotions around the corner that we're working on to get Young Jedi being demoed in places where you would never expect to see a collectible card game demoed. So as soon as we have more news about that, we'll let you know. Tell us a little bit more about the announcement that we made on Young Jedi. A couple of cards got errated this week. Can you just remind people about that?
Sure. We made some corrections on a few of the... let's see. One of them was a character card, the Battle Droid, and I believe it's the Infantry Droid AAT division, and those of you out there that are listening might be able to correct that, but it is the one battle droid that has 3 deploy counters, and that droid should be read to have 2 deploy counters now. Alongside that, and probably the more controversial issue, of course, is the EOP. Now, everybody knows that the EOP is a favorite weapon in any of the light side decks, and we moved that one to a 1 deploy counter weapon, and really the intention behind doing that, number one, was to balance out the environment, because everybody's playing with EOPs, and because of the Destiny number and because of the ease of deploy for that, we felt really strongly about moving that to 1 counter to balance out the other weapons that you had the option to choose from. We don't want to, this early in the game, make certain weapon cards obsolete, and the EOP was probably a little too powerful. So the change was made. There was some debate involved, and we are always open for what options we have, but we felt in the end strongly that for the play environment and for the players in general, that it was the best decision. Now, one of the things that we want to do is make sure that all of you that are existing players and have some pull in your communities, that you join us in the quest to educate everybody, because there may be the kids out there that don't have access to the web, they don't have access to the rules, they don't have access to any changes that we make to the game, and for them, it is really our biggest concern. We want to make sure that people know how to play the cards to keep the bad playing experiences down, and you all probably know what we're talking about. When a ruling is issued and somebody doesn't get it, it just ends up being more of a negative situation than is intended, and I think you, in general, the community, can really do a lot to help us with that. So stay tuned and watch some of the posts, see if people are asking questions, and if you can help in that quest to get those corrections out there, then please do join in. So I think that overall we made the best decision possible, and it's going to help the playing environment in the long run.
Yeah, we cared too much about this game to allow it to be hampered or hindered by misprinted cards. So we're going to make those tough decisions when we have to, and we know that it can causes some feedback, but we just wanted to reaffirm those 2 cards were incorrect. They were misprinted, and they've now been corrected. And as we said in the announcement, in future printings, and we will be announcing, because of the enormous sales of this game, we will be doing a beta printing later in the summer. And of course, every card in that will have been corrected, so you will see those correct cards. In the meantime, add that little bar to your EOP and tell everybody that you see about it. And we'll just we continue to enjoy the positive feedback we get on this game. We are hearing an awful lot of stories now from the core gaming industry that Young Jedi is being played more and more and more, And now that our product is beginning to find its way into the mass market outlets, we're also getting a complete new audience coming into this game. My favorite stories are still those stories from parents with kids where the dad plays with the kids or the mum plays with the kids and really finds that this is a great way to connect, because I have played this game against 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and they are able to compete on a very even playing field. The math is well within their capability, and they often have the ability to spot those combos even quicker than I do. My nephew's very sharp at it, and it's great. We love this game.
Let me tell you, you spotted those combos a lot quicker than I did in that last game we played, Carol. So.
It's great. We're looking forward now to the next expansion of Young Jedi, which will be called the Jedi Council. We've already announced that. It will focus heavily on Coruscant. I guess most of you have seen the movie now at least once. I think I've seen it 3 times. What about you, Kendrick?
3 as well, and another one soon to be added to that list, I'm sure.
Me too. So all of the action that took place in the Senate on Coruscant will be reflected and built upon in our next expansion, which I think is the code name. That's the green expansion, is it? No, the blue expansion.
Jedi Council will be the blue expansion.
Yeah, so you'll be looking out for those blue packs sometime in the next month or so. I don't have a date yet, but certainly at some point in the summer, Young Jedi will take another huge leap forward in its development. So
for all of you out there that want to be playing with that Coruscant location with characters that actually bonus there, besides Mace Windu and Yoda and Masamita and the Sidious and that other little funky-looking guy for the dark side, you're going to get plenty of stuff to add to that deck. So not only will you have your strategy on Tatooine, but for the dark side, you'll now have Coruscant, which is going to be really cool.
How's your foil collection doing?
Well, it is indeed complete. I was gonna pass it along to Marcus to give away in a charity auction in Denver this weekend, and I happened to be out of the office when he came by before getting on the plane. So hopefully he'll do the right thing and pass his collection on. And I guess I'll have to supply him with mine. But the foils are a pretty hot item here in the office. I expect that there are a few collectors out there that are enjoying them as well. Looking forward to the next set.
Oh, well, I pulled a foil queen from my sealed deck bunch the other night, so which I'm probably going to have to trade with Joe Allred, who's building a collection of them.
He's amassing the queen deck. I think the queen actually around here is the hottest one, just because it looks so cool.
Not in my office.
Oh, right, the Obi-Wan, right?
I only have one Obi foil so far, but I'm tracking a second. I'm closing in on a second.
We're hoarding them so that we can pass them along at the appropriate time when we're looking for days off, Carol. That's what we're doing.
Carol has her little Obi shrine in the office. Okay, well, I think that's covered all of our 3 card games today. I don't know that there's any more news that I've missed out on. We're busy planning for the summer shows. We're also busy planning our Decipher Con, the big convention that we intend to hold, that will host both of our world finals of our core games, Star Trek and Star Wars Classic. We'll also be having a mass of Young Jedi events, of very, very high-level Young Jedi events at that convention, which will be in November. I think the weekend of the 13th and 14th of November is what we're looking at. So mark your calendars. We will get news to you as soon as possible. It will be local to Decipher. It'll be in Norfolk somewhere. And it'll be a probably two-day, 1 evening or 2.5-day event. And we're hoping to see as many of you as possible at that, not just locals. Get together with friends, do a road trip. Come to see Decipher and come to see Norfolk in December.
Expect to see information.
November.
Yeah, that'll be in November.
Crazy, sorry.
Expect to see information about hotel reservations and any other information that we can supply you with if you're coming from outside of the Virginia area. We want to accommodate all of you who want to come and be a part of that event. We're going to have a lot of tournament formats to support, a lot of games to support. It should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we might even think about maybe getting some interesting people down to the show or some other people to support the event itself, so stay tuned for more information.
Okay, and if you guys have any feedback about anything you'd like to see at the Decipher Con, then just email Radio Free Decipher, and I will pass that on to the organizers within the office who will be doing that. and we'll try and reflect some of your thoughts and ideas into that event. We're looking forward to it. It's the first time we've ever done anything like that, and it should be a gas. So, okay, well, thanks, Kendrick.
Thank you,
thanks for rambling on with me. Those of you who just wanted hard news, you're going to have to put up with the fact that Radio Free Decipher is more of a conversation, and if you want to listen in on our conversations, then tune in. If you want the hard news, you're best just to check the news flash. I continue to get requests for typing up of Radio Free, and we just do not have the ability to do that. We just see this as an extra feature, and we don't say anything here that we don't repeat in print on our news flash or our What's New on the news site every day. So please bear with us. If you want to listen to us chat away, then tune in every Friday, and if you just want the news, read the news flash.
Sports, news, and more here at Decipher.com.
Oh, well, now, sports has been a great week for sports. Sorry to diverge, but I'm not even going to give away the result because we have the game on tape, but the
Man U!
the soccer game that played 2 or 3 days ago for us Brits, us expats, and also our new Aussie, Justin Pakes, that was a historic event, that game between Man U, my team, and Bayern Munich earlier this week, and I'm going to be watching a tape of that this weekend.
It's a great game.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Take care.